Welcome. My name is Tracy Cook, and this is a podcast series, Victim to Victory. This series gives a voice to those that have overcome obstacles in all forms, that dare greatly to share their real stories. Amazing humans like our upcoming guests that have seen hope and risen above those adversities to become victorious, that now go on to support, empower, and inspire others to do the same. So please subscribe and comment, and take a look at our Launch Brand and Market podcast course in the show notes. Today, we are giving a voice to Pamela Morgan. Welcome.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome. A little bit about Pamela. Her story is inspiring. Her story is empowering, and her story is confrontational. And there may be a trigger warning here as well. She is an amazing, outstanding executive business coach. She is a non-profit founder. She is a CEO. And I love her mission to put human back into human resources. Now, Pamela's CEO life wasn't always like this. There is a story that encompasses Pamela into all of her greatness, that has made her the great leader that she is today. Her life wasn't always easy, and we're very grateful that she's sharing her story for the first time here on Victim to Victory. So if you want to connect with Pamela, please do so. Let's show some support. And I'm really grateful that she's chosen us to share her story with, because I know how many communities she is helping. I know how many individuals and businesses she is helping. Pamela, where does your story start?
Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me. And big breath.
Big breath.
What led me up to probably one of the most pivotal moments in my life was losing two brothers. Both my brothers were murdered. And I lost my son by the time I was 20. And I think it needs to be mentioned, I come from a middle-class family. So it was very typical, and due to circumstances, things unfold, which the reason I bring that up, Tracy, is because it perpetuated the pivotal moment in my life when I connected with my first husband. I was 15, and we were married for about 8 years. He was my first everything, my first love, my first rape, the first time I was choked, the first time I was abused, all of the good and the bad in between. And I had no other reference to what that was supposed to look like. So in that pivotal moment that I speak about intimately is I had asked him to leave the house. And at that time, he was very dedicated to being the only one who would love me, and nobody would love me the way he does. So on the Christmas Eve of 1990, I went home. I had a daughter, still have it. She's a beautiful young woman and very successful, and owns her own company at this point. But I went home with the understanding that that evening he was going to take my life. And he was very explicit on how he was going to do that and how my family would hear about that. And so I said my prayers and wrote my letters that I felt I needed to write, and then went to bed and anticipated that I was going to leave this world. And this is not a story that people have actually ever heard about me. You know, I've gone on to be very successful in all of those things. But with that, I woke up the next morning. And if for anybody who's been through that situation, my heart goes out to you. And we have a sisterhood or a brotherhood together, knowing what that feels like. But when you wake up in the morning and you're here, you have a whole different choice in front of you and a purpose that is ready to be discovered.
And that's a lot to encompass in such a short time. You've lost your two brothers and your son. You're husband is telling you how he's going to get rid of you. And at this point, I'm guessing you've just had enough and just decided to the fact that, okay, if this is the way it's meant to be, this is the way it's meant to be. Would that be right?
For sure, Tracy. So what was my saving grace actually was my daughter, because there was no hope for me. And so with that, you can't save yourself, and no one's coming for you. And that was a reality that was continuous throughout my life. There was nobody coming. And at some point I had to save myself. And at that point I couldn't save myself, but I had a 2-year-old that I was responsible for. So I just needed her to know that I was going to fight for her. It was a very volatile, very abusive, sexually abusive, physically abusive situation. And the reality, as graphic as this sounds, and I hope I'm not triggering anyone, is if I wasn't here, she would just replace that. And she would be misused in the same fashion. So I just had to rise up and change that outcome for her. And somewhere along the line, I found hope for myself.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you know, as mothers, as mama bears, we really do rise up for our children in those needs of crisis. And what do you think changed that you did wake up on that day? Was it a change of mind? Was it a change of circumstance? What did he leave? What got him to allow you to wake up that day?
So when I woke up, it was as simple as feeling my own heartbeat and hearing my own heartbeat and knowing that I had an opportunity and I best not be wasting it any longer. And somewhere inside, that lion was there waiting within that lioness within myself. And it took years. So, you know, it wasn't like within 24 hours. It did take years. But when I did wake up initially that morning, I realized that I didn't need to be saved, that I was here. I didn't have to wait for someone to come and change my life. I was actually in control of that happening. And I'm very faith-bound. And I felt that I had been chosen to breathe another day. And with that, what are you going to do with that? And you have two choices in life, and you and I have spoken to this directly. You can be a victim or you can become victorious. And I believe strongly we have two charted paths that we can take. And the greater of the two is being victorious for me. And then allowing myself to serve others and help others in whatever circumstance, be relatable. If I can add, my story is not different than many other people's story. What makes my story unique is my reaction to it. And people need to always remember it's how they react to that circumstance that offers that uniqueness. That's theirs to cherish, theirs to own, theirs to be triumphant about.
Well, we hear Mel Robbins say that all the time. No one is coming to save you. We have to save ourselves. Because if we're sitting around in a circumstance, and if you're listening to this today, I hope Pamela's story is really hitting home. If you're sitting there in a circumstance and things don't change, if things don't change and nobody is coming to save you, you must take Pamela's advice and rise up with whatever tools or resources that you can to change your life. And I just commend you for your bravery of years and years of abuse, and to be able to rise up. And like you said, it didn't happen overnight. This takes a lot of mental courage and physical courage to almost get out of that trauma bond and to be able to see your worth and see your daughter's worth and be able to think, I'm going to change these circumstances because I am worth it. I am worthy. And I know that I've got goodness in me, and I'm not going to stand for this anymore. And where did you continue after that?
So after that, Tracy, obviously it was still a long road of healing and self-discovery. And he didn't go away for a little while. He kept coming back and doing threatening actions and things like that. And the more though that happened, the stronger I became. And I knew that I was going to not overcome it, but become triumphant over it and help others through that situation, men and women, especially when we're speaking of domestic violence. Then I spent some time on my own, just my daughter and I met a wonderful man that I really deserved, and I earned that type of healthy relationship because I was healthy and I was strong and I wasn't going to settle. And I've just celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary and have two beautiful children and very successful children and happy, healthy children, and have broke multiple cycles throughout my family altogether. I went on to have a nonprofit charity, Baby It's Cold Outside, which was in honor of my brother who was murdered in Montreal, and then started an HR firm. I worked in a corporate world for many, many years, which I enjoyed, and I learned my craft. But my HR firm really allows me to connect with CEOs at a different level and that are very heart-centered and very progressive. And I am living my best life right now and enjoying every moment. And the journey is amazing that we have offered in our lives. And if we could just sometimes take a breath with really deep gratitude and just appreciate where we are and anticipate what's around the corner.
I love that. Anticipate what's around the corner. There's just endless possibilities. And the healing that you've been through, I guess that never stops. That's going to be an ongoing journey for you as well. And through personal growth and through your courage and your determination, and you're just so heart-centered at serving so many other people. What would you say to somebody who is trying to find the courage? What kind of advice would you give them?
As simple as this may sound, is you are more powerful than you realize. You need to pare away all of that self-doubt, all of those voices, your own voice mainly, and voices of others, to understand you have a purpose here, you have a place here. And with that, you actually have a responsibility. So when we discover that we're responsible for other people and helping them throughout their journey, it sometimes allows us to go a little bit easier, I guess, into our path because we're helping somebody else move along. So for me, truly, Tracy, we are so powerful if we just take a moment and understand that power within, that rising up is not as hard as sometimes we think it is.
Yeah, I felt every word of that, Pamela. Thank you so much. And what kind of message would you like to leave the audience on today?
Be kind to yourself. We're imperfect. That's why we're here. We're here to have a journey. We're here to have the human experience. Drink it all up, drink up all the experiences. Like, that's what they're there for. This is what we're here to have. I know sometimes it can be difficult and it can be daunting and it can be sad. But with all of those emotions, we're gifted those emotions. That's a beautiful thing. Like, if you can sit and cry, I applaud anybody that can sit and weep. That is a beautiful gift that we have. And just enjoy it. Enjoy the experience and never forget that you're here on purpose. You're here on purpose. I promise you. And you're needed. You're very, very needed.
That is absolutely wonderful. Your journey is inspiring. It is empowering. It is real. It's raw. And for many, it would be triggering. But please reach out to Pamela because she has a lived experience and she is here to help and support, change and save lives, whether it's as a CEO, whether it's part of her nonprofit, Baby It's Cold Outside, or whether she's putting the human back into human resources. She is a leader, she is a visionary, and she is a upcoming collaborative author in the Victim to Victory book. So you can actually purchase that on Amazon, read her chapter, and be able to connect with her authentically and create movements of the future. Thank you so much for being brave to share your story. You're really, really appreciated, Pamela, and we'll be sharing where to connect with you. And you can find the Victim to Victory podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And if you got value from today, which I know you did, please connect with Pamela, leave a supportive comment, subscribe and share, and also check out the Launch Brand and Market podcast course in the show notes. And let me leave you with a message of wear your story like a superhero cape and not an anchor. Thank you very much for today, Pamela.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I feel so honored.
Very grateful. We'll see you on the next episode.